All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Inside Participate live stream. We're also streaming live on Steve Isaac's Twitch channel. Be sure, if you're not following us on either of those channels, you got to do that, folks, because that's how you get notified when we go live and when things start happening. We did the Gone Home game study yesterday at 3. And listen, you got to go back, you got to find us on YouTube, you got to go and watch that video, because we had Carla, who was the co-lead developer of Gone Home, on the live stream with us, and talking us through watching me screw up playing her video game. And it was a whole lot of fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, we got some neat insights too on just the behind the scenes stuff and the game design kind of stuff, and some of the impetus behind the notes and all sorts of neat things in the game. It was great.
It was pretty wild. And so we're here this morning, and we're with Ito. Ito is the CEO of CoderZ. Welcome to the show, Ito.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
We're excited too. So Steve, why don't you introduce Ito
Sure.
a little bit? Tell us your background. You know him.
Yeah. So I was introduced to Ito a while ago because of my involvement, particularly at the time with esports and education. And Ito was introduced to me because not only does he have this great virtual coding platform for robotics, but they were kind of dipping their toes in esports and sort of looking, if I understand it correctly, like at the model, kind of like, we have these robotics competitions and all this, and why not take that kind of online? So they've developed all these neat challenges and things that lend really well to that idea. So it sort of bridges, robotics and esports and all of that. And, at a time like this right now, their platform is especially interesting to me because it's all online. Like, you don't need the physical hardware of the robots and such to fully engage in these challenges and activities and learn coding and all that. So
Right.
I really loved it when I first saw the product. So when we started these streams, I was, thinking we got to have Ito on and show this off to all the people at home that are looking for great, enriching, fun activities to be doing at this time.
Amazing. So, Ito, why don't you just dive right in? Go ahead and tell us, let's start from the start. Tell us a little bit about the platform, and then let's dig into it.
Sure. So just a little bit of background about us and how we got to develop the platform, and then CoderZ is part of an organization called Intelitech, and Intelitech is in technological education for over 35 years. We cover subjects from like robotics, like coding, like other types of CAD, CAM, and those types of subjects from middle school all the way to post-secondary. And we got into robotics probably around close to 15 years ago, working a lot with FIRST and VEX, and we had some products that were the initial product software that VEX used to work with, and the first comprehensive curriculum that VEX worked with. And one of the things that we quickly realized is that we were having great implementation in a lot of schools, and we'd come in, we'd have a high school set up an elective of engineering, and they'd invest quite a sizable amount of money, and then at the end of it, you'd have 20 students that would participate, and that was kind of it. And I think that one of the things that we were challenged with is, how do you get robotics to be something that every single student can experience and be exposed to? And the question that you ask yourself is, okay, what are the kind of the barriers for letting that happen? And one is obviously to see what schools already have, which is internet, and and a lot of schools are moving into a one-to-one mode. So if you have something that is online, you could practically reach a lot more students. And then second would be, how do you work with teachers who are not from that first kind of circle of engineering, and in that sense, how do you make this something more comfortable, more easier for teachers to kind of onboard? So those were kind of the first obstacles that we kind of were working with, and then afterwards, like Steve alluded to, is how do you make this fun and, and motivate the students to keep going, right? Yeah. So so this is kind of really the background, and we've been we've had a good kind of back and forth with instructors throughout the country on kind of getting a sense of what, how this would work better for them, and what are the tools that they need in order to make this a good experience, and also learning a lot from students. So I think we changed the way that we designed the platform quite a few times in these past few years, just on feedback. And that's part of developing a product until you get it right, until you kind of, you kind of you try to get to the right recipe, right?
Yeah, totally.
So, one of the things that has really, as Steve mentioned, that has kind of highlighted the what I think, I call it a paradigm shift, but what has highlighted the real need for something like this has been this, unfortunate period of COVID, when suddenly you say, okay, schools are shutting down, and we need to move to another mode of learning. And, the question that you ask yourself is, okay, this is something that, everybody already has e-learning, and everybody already has these remote learning technologies. So this must be an easy shift. Well, you look at what's happening a few weeks after we're in this, and, you realize very quickly that it's been quite a challenge. And it's taking schools a lot of time to kind of plan and understand how to roll out, learning throughout this period. And I think that what we did, and we were fortunate to partner and to be sponsored by Amazon Future Engineer at this time, is to, just at kind of the offset when schools were starting to shut down, we just said, hey guys, here it is. This is our platform. It's available for everybody. We quickly added more content. We were mostly focused on middle school. We added content for elementary, and we added content for high school as well. And we said the platforms is fully available. And just to kind of so these are the 4 kind of programs that we've opened up. So it starts with CoderZ Adventure for elementary, and then we have Cyber Robotics 101 and Cyber Robotics 102, which are kind of an introductory course in middle school, a little bit more advanced course, and we have Python Gym.
Nice.
So this is a kind of an exercise area for Python, and again, I want to kind of thank Amazon again for their sponsorship, because it makes it available for schools, individuals, clubs. So whoever wants to kind of learn how to code, it's available. For all this for the past 2 or 3 weeks already.
That's amazing. And if I could touch on one thing that piggybacks on a lot of what you're saying is, I think while it's been very challenging, one of the things we're trying to do, I think, with this stream is really amplify the idea of choice in learning, which I think is going to be one of the most exciting sort of, unanticipated outcomes that comes out of this difficult and terrible situation, is that I think we're starting to see that we want to give kids more choice. And, here's an opportunity with CoderZ for kids to say, hey, I'd like to learn about robotics, and now maybe I have this opportunity. So I hope that more and more educators start to say, hey, and I have seen educators talking about moving towards a model of passion projects while kids are at home and things. And I think so many possibilities are coming about. And I'm really glad that we have you here today to show this, because I think it's going to turn a number of people on to something they might not have known existed.
Yeah. I think the challenge in this time, obviously choice is super important, but it's even going backwards, a step backwards and saying, is everybody aware that these things exist? Because again, of STEM, when you think of robotics, especially, you think of that elective in school, and that that lab, or you think of your competition team, which all kind of that's what comes up when you think about robotics, and you don't necessarily think of having an online option that you can learn with, you can play with, and you can also compete with. So this is kind of a big shift. And I think that what we're seeing right now with the availability of this is we're seeing huge number of schools. We have more than 5,500 schools that have registered in one way or another, and it could be a student and their parents that do this at home, or it could be an entire school that kind of rolls this out and makes this into an activity during these weeks, and you see how they progress week after week. So it's I find it to be amazing. We always have to think about the equity aspect of this, and to understand that although this makes it a lot more inclusive, there are still those that may not have access to a computer or access to Wi-Fi, and that's something that hopefully throughout this COVID crisis, that's something that we could all kind of push for some sort of solution through the education budget, so we can resolve that and have more access and more inclusiveness in that sense.
So Dave, the the elementary school track that you have there, it's geared. What grades is it geared towards? Elementary school is a little bit more vague than I think some folks are just curious. How early would you suggest kids can start using this?
So we can start third to fifth grade. I guess that's kind of the area. We made this platform super simple, and I'll show. I'll be able to show some of the missions here. We called it adventure in the sense that you can see how students are going through these different these different kind of sceneries or different. So that they start with Adventure Peak and Frozen Island and Lost City. So it makes it something that they can also easily kind of relate to a lot of these images and to the graphics. Candy Town. We also added some drawing. And when you look at the activities, we've made this very, very simple in the sense that the coding part of this is all the blocks are readily available, and you don't have too much of a choice. So when you look at the missions, as opposed to some of the other more advanced where you have a choice of a lot of blocks, here you'd have just a few blocks to choose from. So you'd have your drive and then your turn, and the data blocks, and with this you'd go about and solve it. The other thing that we've added to some of these missions is taking a look at the graphics here, which I found to be nice, and also to kind of draw the attention and interest of students. The other thing that we did here is we've added a kind of a pad where you can use this for calculations. So we kind of blended math into this as well. So when you look at this and you're saying, okay, I need to turn, and then I need to move. So how do I know when I stop? So, you have your, this is a distance of 4, but you have this symbol of 1 here. So if I subtract 1 from 4, I probably know where I should stop. And this is kind of the distance where I should start turning. And then, so you kind of use, you combine the logic, the sequence of code, the computational thinking, but you also blend math into it and make it into an activity that students can kind of work with. So this is, it's definitely something, and we added this program and the gym. We were working on it in the background, but we didn't plan to release until the fall. And due to the shutdown of schools and our desire to participate in kind of providing this content, so we came out with this a lot earlier than we expected, and we were kind of working with some schools on getting feedback as we were going through this, and making changes kind of on the go. But it was lots of fun to be able to go through this and to provide all these different types of options for kids.
So a couple questions are coming up, I guess, in the chat. And I have a comment too that I think is, I love that the environments look so nice. I think that's a big deal. I think that's a big deal to kids. So one of the things that you'll find a lot of game-based learning educators talk about is that if it doesn't look like a game that is like the aesthetics are important as much as these hardcore like education researcher type people will talk about like pedagogical whatever and like game-based learning research and this and that. How it looks matters. Kids will not play a game that doesn't look like a game and that doesn't look fun. It has to look fun. And also, this looks fun.
Yeah, what I like also is I'm just thinking from a perspective of engaging, all, male, female, all diversity and such. I think it looks very appealing. And I think that's important because sometimes we associate, robotics and stuff, with a more male audience, and we want to move away from that for sure.
So there's another question in the chat, and I think that this is something we should get into a little bit, or at least clear up. Is CoderZ COPA compliant?
Yeah, so we have a whole kind of part on the website on privacy, on COPA, on FERPA. We've gone through processes internally to train the staff and to make sure that everything is done by the book. It was for us dealing a lot with lots of hardware and other type of project. This was something new, but we've adjusted to it in the past 12, 18 months, and we've been we keep reviewing and making sure that we're up to date on everything concerning COPA.
Some states have, and there's just one specific person asking because he's noticed something about it looking into data, asking for date of birth, which is I think a COPA issue in some states with privacy and getting permission slips. Even in high school, I guess, or something like that. So we might want to follow up on that because I think that's an interesting question. And maybe Dave, you can add more in the chat to what you're talking about related to date of birth. But that's interesting. Okay.
The only thing that the process here, and this is the only thing that is asked of students, and this is mostly when you register as a student on their own, or as part of a classroom, not necessarily as part of a district, then a student will be asked if they're over or under 13. And I don't think that there's any place there that you add the date of birth. I don't think that is part of the information that's being asked. And the only reason is because if you're under 13, then you go through a certain process that the system issues a request to your parent to provide consent, and if not, then you can just go in and continue to play with the system.
Perfect.
Yeah, so this was the elementary, and the other thing that is pretty cool. I really like this is the drawing missions. So you have this kind of notebook paper, and you have your EV3 Lego robot, and you could have something that is pre-designed for you, and are you hungry? Yum! Kind of figure out how to draw this on your own, or you could have just a freestyle. And we've been seeing, we've getting a lot of pictures from teachers that are just having their students, at this time, just draw something and send it to us. So I like the part where you can share. You can do this. There's something very technical about the coding aspect that at some point students need. To kind of take a moment to kind of change their thought process and say, okay, I want to do something a little bit more creative. So you have these project environments where you can draw, and then after you've done one or two of these, you go back and you solve some of these challenges, which are kind of I guess exercising different muscles in the brain, right?
I love this. It brings me right back to my MSW logo days, which I'm sure there's some inspiration behind this from, right?
Yeah. It's being creative is super important, and it ties nicely with I think you're a better coder if you think creatively as well. So it's yeah. So I'll just kind of use this to kind of move between the different programs. So the next one is the 101, and if you think about it, in the elementary, all you do is you navigate. So you talk about moving forwards and backwards and turning, and you go through math, adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. You get introduced to angles, which is in a cool way. But we don't have any sensors. It's more about kind of orientation of where you are, and solving challenges which are a little bit more simple, and using the math to be kind of your main tool to solve challenges with navigation. And in 101, we basically were saying, okay, instead of measuring using a ruler or other tools, let's do that using sensors. So this is pretty much the difference. I just want to quickly show how this, going back to the adventure. So what I have here is I have these different tools that I can use for, so I can verify the distance here. I can check, I can check angles, and through that make a measurement of angles. So I have these cool tools that I can use in order to collect information. And when I get to the more advanced program in 101, then here I want to start using my sensors. So let me see where we can find. So
I won't lie. This is so much better than actual Lego robotics. I'll say anyone who has I don't really enjoy EV3. It's my least favorite coded like robotics platform. I would do this all day with kids, where I actually find actual Lego robotics not very fun at all. But I think I would enjoy it so much more like this.
Yeah, I might have to agree.
That's all I'm thinking right now. I'm thinking how much I hate EV3 and how much I would actually enjoy doing this.
And you might not have even known how much you hated it until you saw this.
Oh my God. I don't like EV3 at all, but this looks fun.
Guys, I want to be fair to the physical robots and as well as to the virtual ones, but I think that we're dealing with different types of a different type of learning. So here, you're problem solving. You're kind of trying to figure out, okay, how do I get out of this maze? What do I need to do to get maximum points? This is all gamified but you're not dealing with a lot of the design and engineering aspects that you may be dealing with on a physical robot. So I think that the platform complements a lot of what you're doing in the physical world, and you can't take away from the engineering learning that you'll do with a physical platform, but definitely and this we see a lot. I mean, in most of the competitions, you have students that are just refusing to do the autonomous part and are refusing to code because they don't like it. They like the build aspect. And here, you as an individual student, you're forced to solve problems. So it's something that is completely different.
I will give all due respect to physical robots. I love physical robots. I just hate EV3.
Yeah.
just to pile on the hot take even more. Yeah. I listen. I love Dash. I like MBot. I like Cody Rocky. My jam is Metatalab. It's a kind of a K-2 coding platform. Love it. Absolutely love it. Hate EV3. Carry on. This is really good.
Okay. So
Mike, how do you feel about the Lego EV3 though?
Oh, don't start. Not good, man. Not fun at all. So there's people that love EV3. Like it's funny. Rami Gaddis, the CEO of Logix Academy, always used to fight with me about EV3 because that's how he started with educational robotics. Like that's how Logix Academy came about. And I'm like, no, dude, what's it like to be so wrong? Anyways, this though, again, I could do this with my classes when I was doing educational robotics. I would do this. This is great.
Guys, so what I wanted to show you here is, how do we learn about the ultrasonic sensor, right? So ultrasonic sensor is a complex sensor to teach, and I always have this visual that I see a teacher holding a robot with a small piece of cardboard, and they say, you see, as I'm moving the robot towards the cardboard, the value here on the small screen that only I can see is reduces, and therefore I can use the ultrasonic sensor to take measurements and to avoid objects and so on and so on. And it's difficult unless a student holds a robot and does the same thing. It's difficult for them to experience that. What we've done here is we've taken this is a challenge, but the only challenge here that we ask the students is to kind of move around with the robot, and what they can see is that beyond a certain point, the ultrasonic sensor is not effective. So I have the measurement here, but nothing is happening because I'm too far away from the object, which is the wall over here. Once I get to the 250 mark, which is right here, then you can start seeing in real time that the numbers here are changing, and that there is a correlation between the balloons here and the reading on the sensor itself. So when you kind of walk students through this, you're saying, hey, look at this tool. So now, after we've gone through this and we understand that what the meaning of these numbers are, now we can go and start using this in different types of challenges, and understand what the ultrasonic sensor is used for, and how we can implement that. So here we're just kind of demoing the use of that, and in other missions you're going to have obviously explanation of how to use the code. You can see here that there's no code needed. It's just complete this mission using manual control, no code needed. So the whole idea is just to kind of get the experience of what the ultrasonic sensor does. So I like this as a method of kind of showing students how to understand a concept like a sensor, and the fact that each student does this on their own, it does something to the learning process, because one, they're not judged. They feel very confident. They feel like they're in an environment that they can go through trial and error as much as they need to. And they don't need to fear that kind of peer pressure, or to feel that they're being judged by someone. And the fact that it's in a gamified environment makes them feel also comfortable and fun.
We have a question about what platform. Since it's web-based, will it work on a tablet?
So we have, this is a great question. I mean, so far, because we have not been in elementary, we have kind of steered away from tablets. We've just, any kind of Chromebook, or we'll have to think about that, now that we have elementary, and see how much that is going to be required. But from our middle schools, that was, maybe, I don't know, once every while we'd hear something, but most of the middle schools would have either Chromebooks or computer labs.
Yeah, I think as long as it works on Chromebooks, you're in pretty good shape, because that's the sometimes limiting factor, and schools have oodles and oodles and oodles of Chromebooks, so that's a safe bet.
Yeah. Let me see, I'm trying to think what else I want to share here. So just, let's talk a little bit about the teacher. Teachers are super important. So a few things just to show here. So one is the kind of the self-directed learning, or the aspects of what students see when they enter into a mission. I'm restarting the mission, so it will look like the first time that a student gets it. They have a lot of these pop-up balloons, which kind of give them the instructions and tell them what each block does or means. Here we have, this is milliseconds, which is used as part of the Lego terminology, and so we give kind of an explanation of what that is. This is a drive forward, a stop, a drive block with 0. So when students go through this, they get this hand holding by the software, which makes it very convenient for the teacher, that students can kind of progress on their own and have this guidance in the software to move forward. We also have this pop-up saying, we couldn't complete the mission because we did not drive kind of long enough, so we have to prolong the time of moving forward. And then We didn't drive back at all. So now we're correcting this, changing the code, the time here, and then adding a negative value so we can now move. So this is kind of one feature which makes it a lot of teachers just feel comfortable. They say, okay, here students are just gonna work on their own, and one of the comments that I liked in one of the webinars that one of our teachers did for us is they said, I will feel comfortable to just walk to the principal's office during class and go and collect my mail because I know that the students are going to be busy with solving some of these missions. The other thing here from a class management point of view, so the ability to see how students are doing, and it could be for a specific block of missions. So this is under navigation, and you can see how the students are progressing, and if you have certain students that are finding it a little bit more difficult, and how you how you could flip your classroom and kind of concentrate on working with these students, or you could do some peer-to-peer and ask some of these students to work with these. So it gives you a good overview of what's happening in your class. You can also do a deep dive into a student, see how many attempts they needed to solve the missions, how long it took them to solve the missions, and through that you can grade the students. The other thing that you have here, which is pretty cool, is a project area. Sometimes, and this is all, if you notice, a lot of the missions are closed-ended in the sense that they already have kind of a pre-designed objective and a target. And that's to make again the teaching easy. So we come up with the exercise, and then in the classroom you can solve it. But some teachers like a different style of teaching where they want to, for example, come up with a project of their own. So this would be kind of an open-ended type of area where I don't have any kind of I could have different objects on the field, but it's for the instructor to kind of determine what it is that they want to teach. So here, for example, we are declaring steering here as a variable, and then we're adding one to the steering every half second, and we're asking students, okay, how's this going to look if I use the robot to draw on kind of an empty surface? What kind of visual am I going to get? And how is this visual going to change if I change the time? So once I run the code, I'm able to start seeing a certain visual. This will change if I change the variable of the time. If it's not going to be every half second, if it's going to be a second, or you can play around with it. But it's a nice project that you're doing with your students, and you're using the code to to visualize something on the screen, and it's not a mission, so it's not it's a different approach. And then finally here we have the scoreboard, and this ties into Steve, to what you said about about being competitive. And here you see these leaderboards, which have been huge in motivating, and it could be something that is private for the teacher just to see how the students are doing in the classroom. Or what we've done in competitions is we've made public leaderboards where you could see the name of the school, and what's the aggregate score for the school, and now it's school versus school on all these challenges. So it's taking the learning into kind of a totally different experience, where students are coming to the classroom and they're telling the teacher, look, we must start working on our missions because we don't want to be behind on the leaderboard in our competition. So
now, with Is that, does it show just the school name or the class name rather than the students when you're showing the public leaderboard?
Yeah, so you're gonna have either, it could be the class name or the club name or the school name. We tried to initially have you can't have a leaderboard for everything, right? So if you had schools, then some schools would participate just with their STEM class, and others would participate with the entire school. And then you'd have smaller club. So what we've done in our last season is we've just made a class or a club kind of the common denominator, and what we've created, which seemed to be very successful, is even a competition in the school. So the way that the competition is structured is that you have an earlier boot camp, which is all about learning, and kind of for those that have not, that are not part of our schools or did not go through our curriculum. So they have some time which in the boot camp to kind of learn, or for some of our existing schools to refresh their skills. And then you have several levels of qualifiers in which you see, which schools are working hard and kind of scoring high on the points. And then what we've done this past year is we've created an in-school finals. And the in-school finals is great for two different types of one is for a school that has multiple classes and multiple teachers. They can compete within the school, and you wouldn't believe how competitive the teachers are, which is really nice to see, because they each one's
I believe it.
What I'd love to see is, I'm just trying to think this through, and maybe we could think this through right here, is I'd love to see a real simple, like, COVID challenge where we invite clubs, and I guess I'm just trying to think, if you were to do it as a competition and it was club based, is there a number of students that, like, maximum that could be in a club that's competing? Is that how it's set up? Because I'd love to just shoot something out there, especially with some of the people excited from this stream, to say, hey, let's just get some kids involved. Let's get them on the platform. Let's, let them go at it and kind of have this fun, month-long or something competition. What would be the easiest way for us to start something like that and kind of promote it and whatnot?
So anything which is, club or class size, so it could be anywhere between 15 to 25 students. That could be a good size, because at the end of the day, you want to create some sort of scoring mechanism, and usually you'd have some sort of average score between the different students in the club, because the whole idea here is that each student is going to work on their own, and you could have each student learning. So that's the idea. So if we do something like that, and that's something that we're planning. So we, as I mentioned at the beginning of the conversation here, it's taken schools some time to kind of roll out their plans and get into learning mode. So what we're seeing a lot of schools that have signed up. Some have kind of jumped straight in. A lot of others, the teachers are doing a little bit of preparation. They're doing a little bit of kind of training with us, and then they plan to roll out in the coming weeks. So what we want to do is we want to start coming out with some of these, like, challenges, and it's probably going to be like a weekly challenge or something like that, where you're going to have your regular learning materials where you could kind of brush up on the skills that you need, and then from then on you could kind of participate in that challenge whenever it's published, and your scores are going to show up on the leaderboard, and through that we can kind of have a little bit more fun with this.
So then would it, in other words, if we did it that way, would it be that your club is registered, the weekly challenges are launched by you, but they would, anybody in this competition would see those, but they would also be able to earn points by just going at their own pace? Would that be part of it? Or?
Yeah. We with our competitions, and again, that's something that unless you have a live event, which we do for the finals of our competition, that is a live event. But all the other phases are kind of self-paced in the sense that we understand that you could some of you are going to code in the evening, and some of you are going to do it during school. So we give you a certain amount of time to complete your work. And part of a competition that is virtual is again by allowing as many students as possible to go through that experience. So when we're able to we've reached I want to say about 150,000 students with the competition. One of the testimonials that I like is from in West Virginia. We have a partner that is working with both the VEX, the first, and with us on all the competitions. And he mentioned that in a single season with us, he was able to get more students involved than in 10 seasons with the robots. So, obviously it's not apples to apples because, with us, again, it's much easier to kind of get on board, but it just shows you that from an inclusiveness point of view, you're able to get a lot more done.
Yeah, I mean, I'm intrigued. I'd like to see if there was I think the challenges sometimes become just making it real clear how easy we can onboard teams and stuff. But I would love to participate in something. I wonder, do other people in the chat feel that they would be interested in something like that? Like if we got just started a COVID-19 CoderZ challenge or something? Well, we'll put it out there for sure if it's something that that we can do easily.
Yeah, just get after us on Twitter, send us a message, all of that stuff. This sounds really interesting for sure.
So what I want to show you now is this is this is Ruby. Ruby is our own made up virtual robot, and this is part of Cyber Robotics 102. And what we do here is we kind of introduce the world of physics, if you like, and we make the use of sensors into something a lot more complicated. So here we have kind of a ramp, and I have a command of just moving forward, and we can see kind of the acceleration, the speed here. And when I run the simulation, what we can see is that Ruby doesn't have enough power to kind of get on top of the ramp, and some it kind of slides down. So what is nice is that through this you learn about about the acceleration process, and if what I do here is I take this and now I move backwards first for a certain period of time, and then I move forward. Then all of a sudden, and let's have the speed open, so you can see how you're able, with the runway to kind of gain acceleration and be able to kind of reach the top of the ramp here. So
that's cool.
You're able to get a lot of interesting concepts through the simulation. Another one which I really like is it's called Treacherous Heights, and here again, it looks very simple. You have this kind of bridge here, but it's kind of, you can see that it's a bumpy road. It's not a straight road. And if you just take the robot and drive straight, which is what your intuition tells you, then it'll be difficult because because of the bump, you're going to get thrown off. And one of the things that a lot of the kids like is they'll just continue to see, okay, what happens if the robot falls, and let's make it fall on purpose, and they'll all together of the learning, because they're just intrigued by the graphics. The other cool thing is that the whole Cyber Robotics 102 is kind of it's built on a square Earth that you can kind of jump off, and you jump off into the abyss with the robot, and a lot of kids will just do that. So, so once you kind of realize that you have your gyro sensor, and with the gyro sensor you can kind of balance on the y-axis of the gyro, and tell the robot that every time that you feel that it's kind of pushing into another direction to balance it back, then you're able to use your sensors in order to navigate in this treacherous road environment, and be able to pull through. So again, I'll open up the gyro here, and you can see how, using the values, you're able to kind of get to that. So this is, it's all a lot of problem solving using both the code and and engineering. So this is kind of this is students are really enjoying it, and it's nice. Oh, and I forgot to show something which is super important. So we are now in a teacher view, okay? And let's say that I was just doing this, and I was, as a teacher, I could not find the solution for this. So for the teachers, I have open solutions for everything. So I could just say, hey, I want to see the solution, and then are you sure? And then once I do this, I get a solution. So I hope not too many students are going to make use of this if they sign up as teachers. But this is for teachers. This is a great tool. The other thing that maybe is important for some students, we have English, Hebrew, Spanish, Portuguese. We're going to add French, Chinese, and Korean pretty soon. So those languages are going to be available for the platform. And then I wanted to quickly just show. So this is part of the gym, and so we'll do kind of, this is a similar mission to what we did before. So you can see again the pop-ups here, but now we're in Python. So again, Ruby is not able to kind of mount onto the ramp, and here instead of doing this in blocks, so we're doing this in Python, and I hope I remember this. And then. So now we're already able to kind of take this to the next level and use Python, and something that I didn't show before, but whenever you do the blocks, you're able to see the parallel of either Python or Java on instead of the simulated screen. You could kind of see that. And here what you have is being able to solve the missions with Python from the get-go. So I guess I did the right thing.
I love that there's a scaffold here to go from grade 3 potentially, all the way through high school in Python. And it's all in one platform. It's all in one system, using, in a pretty fun, interesting looking environment, um, that's integrated with, robots that your schools might have anyways as well, that you can then go and kind of use live, like in person, like physically as well. This is really, and like that teacher back end system, so that there's the ability to perform assessment, to track what's going on. The idea that definitely Michael Phelps should not quit his day job, um, was another thought. I didn't want to interrupt you with that hot take, but I definitely saw that Phelps should stick to being a swimmer.
I was having some concerns about him too.
Yeah, for sure. You'd think he'd do better at this.
It was making me think of some of my students, like right now with this distance learning. And that's another thing about the back end too, is how you can see what students are doing, which is at a quick glance, which is really important for teachers right now.
Yeah, it's super important. I mean, you can't help anyone if you can't see that they're struggling, or offer more advanced challenges to someone who's it may not be challenging enough for them, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we gotta wrap. We gotta start wrapping things up. Time flies when you're having fun. And this has been really cool. I think one of the things we're gonna do, we're starting to build a whole bunch of resources in our game-based learning community. If you've been watching on the Inside Participate channel, you've seen it linked by our chat bot a couple times. People should go to participate.com and check out the game-based learning community, where we talk about games and teaching and learning. And we're going to link this resource, this site in there. We're going to link that Amazon Future Engineer link. We put it in the chat once before. I'll actually put it back up on the screen again right now as soon as I scroll up to it. Here it is. So go there and check these courses out. I think they're great. And again, we'll link them in the resource section, and certainly encourage people to go and take a look at these on the game-based learning community on Participate. We'll make sure that link gets in there.
And this stream will be posted within about a half hour on my class YouTube channel, and probably also on the Participate YouTube channon, so people can watch the replay.
Within a half hour on Steve's channel, and within 2 days on mine, because I'm very much slower on the uptake on the Inside Participate channel. What else should I say? So how else? So you guys are on Twitter. What's like that? So the website is CoderZ.com, correct?
Correct. Yes.
And what are you on Twitter?
At CoderZ.
At CoderZ. So make sure you're following their Twitter account as well. Thanks so much for joining us on the stream today. This was really, really, really cool. Like I said, I was pretty excited about this. I enjoyed this a lot. Think this is a really neat tool.
I do too.
What else should we plug? Well, we got another minute or so. The stream this afternoon. I think we're really excited about the stream this afternoon. At least I am. I've been thinking about it.
I am too. I wonder if we'll show my world a little pale in comparison. But
no. What we're gonna do? We're gonna start a world together.
Oh, that'll be fun. That's actually what we should do. You're right. Yeah. Okay, good.
So listen, friends. We're gonna play Satisfactory this afternoon, and show you that, because we can't stop talking about it. So we thought, well, we might as well just play it. And I think it does maybe have some really neat implications for game-based learning. So we're going to talk about that too, maybe. All right, everybody. Thanks, Ito, for joining us.
Thank you, Ito.
Awesome.
Thank you. This was cool.
Thank you so much.
Everybody, we'll see you this afternoon at 3:00 Eastern time. Have a good day. Stay healthy. Bye now.
Stay safe, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks, Ito. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.